Okay, guys, thank you so much for, there's a couple of us here live on the call, and for those of you that are watching this recording, taking the time to grow your business, grow yourself is absolutely vital, and it's absolutely key to plug in. So I know this call is new for a lot of us to do on Wednesday night before our nation call, but go ahead and mark it in your calendar, put it down. One common denominator I have seen in people that are successful in Arbonne is they all plug in. And then on the flip side, one common denominator I have seen of anyone in my business over 10 years who has ever quit or felt discouraged enough to walk away and quit their business is that they have not plugged in. So I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to plug in. And so thank you. Just by watching this, you are. So I'm super excited tonight to get to hear from Elaine Friend. I'm so thankful for her in my business. She's been in for a few years now, and well on her way, almost about halfway to regional vice president, quickly on her way. Her and her husband live in Maryland with a couple little boys, and she is just working the big full picture in mind. If you've ever spent a little bit of time with her, you know that her work is to serve others, to help others, love on others, and her husband is incredibly supportive, which is awesome, and they really just are at this, building this together to build a future for their family that they have mapped out. So I really appreciate Elaine taking the time. She's actually on vacation right now, and I know we just like shoot the boys inside, and she's sitting outside so she can do this for us, but she has worked really hard to put together this awesome training and some thoughts and from her experiences and things that she has learned about building our business. And so Elaine, thank you so much for pulling it together on vacation, taking the time to do this. I cannot wait to hear from you. So I'm going to mute myself and go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Like Marie said, I'm Elaine Friend, pretty much regional vice president of Arbonne. I'm saying I got to tell myself, so we're getting there. But I'm really excited to share with you tonight. Definitely something that I don't know, I guess I could say was placed on my heart and has recently been something that I have really realized in my personal business and have gotten very passionate about sharing with others. And I think helping others just kind of see that big vision, that big picture, like what Marie's talking about. So my hope is that at the end of this, that you just feel encouraged to understand more of how this industry works so that you'll stick it out, and that they'll stick it out to see the fruit of your labor and get to have the full benefits and what's to come in the future for you. So that's my hope, is that you'll be encouraged. And some of this maybe you're already familiar with, but some of it maybe not. So I'm excited, and I will go ahead and just get started. What I love about this topic about entrepreneurial mindset, time zone, and success is that it's very different. It's different from anything else. It's different from kind of the norm that we live in. So you have to really be prepared to think differently and to know that things will be different than what we're used to. So everything, your attitude, your mindset, everything else has to also be different than what most likely what we are used to and what we've been raised with. So I truly believe that everybody has been given gifts and abilities to use, and we all have different ones, and that's what makes us, even specifically as an Arbonne team, so beautiful, is all of us working together and bringing our gifts and our abilities together to work as one and help each other out. And one of the things that I have realized that I believe that I've been gifted with is being able to have a big picture mindset. And to just kind of act on faith sometimes and not be like, well, whatever. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Something that my mom used to say a lot is nothing ventured, nothing gained, and no guts, no glory. And I'm always like, what's the worst that could happen? So one of the gifts I think, and the reason I say this is because I think this kind of mindset, just open, dreaming big, like future kind of mindset, is a really important mindset for living an entrepreneurial time. Sorry, I've got really small notes on my phone, and I've realized my eyes are getting worse and worse. So, But to give you like an example, it dawned on me, and this is how I realized I think I had this gift. And I'm sure, we share this with many others, but someone had asked me once that, what is something that you regret or you would do over in life? And I had quite a few minutes to think about my answer because there were other people there who were answering other questions. And like, truthfully, I had a really hard time, even when I thought about the not so great decisions I made or things that I guess were not good times in my life. When I really thought of those things, I had a really hard time actually seeing them and viewing them as regrets. I felt like that was not right, because I realized, like, I love learning from life. Like, I love learning from life. And I think it's also goes along with the book that we hear of so often, and maybe you've read, is Failing Forward. And I just view a lot of those times in my life as something that, had taught me something and brought me to where I am today. And so I don't know, it was just like, oh, it's a lesson, it wasn't a regret or like, oh, I want to do it over, because if I do it over, who knows who I'd be today or what I would have learned. So even that helps me looking forward for mistakes that I know will happen, or falls or setbacks coming forward. I know that because I've reflected and realized where I've come from, those past things, I get kind of like almost excited about, okay, what are we going to learn next? What's going to happen next? Like, bring it. Like, I always tell Jonathan, I'm like, I feel like we're a little too comfortable. Like, what's next? Bring it. Like, let's conquer something out. This is so funny. So I love that. And I think, again, the lifestyle of entrepreneurial time is a little bit, I don't want to skip ahead, but it really goes along this kind of mindset. So I'm hoping to share a little bit of that with you. So entrepreneurial time versus bureaucratic time, right? So this is something that is talked about in the book, Dare to Dream and Work to Win. If you've read it, I recommend reading it again. If you have never read it, you must read it. You have to read it. A lot of what I'm going to share tonight is actually pulled from that book. So you'll get a little taste, but read it right from the source, because it's amazing. Dr. Tom Barrett has a great, it's like my training, only like the pro talking about entrepreneurial time and success and what that looks like. So go and read that book and taste it and see it for yourself, because it's amazing. It's a great book. Very easy read. But anyway, entrepreneurial time, it basically is, Dr. Tom Barrett describes entrepreneurial vision as being able to see around the corners. Entrepreneurs can see things sooner, more clearly, and more fully than others. Okay, so as you guys know, like, being in this kind of business, we're really future thinking, and we're set on what's coming and what's around the corner. And that's how an entrepreneur thinks. We think bigger than, and we see what's possible, which requires us to act on faith, like I talked about, kind of going out on that faith limb and just believing and trusting. It's a lifestyle. It's more of a lifestyle than it is, a kind of predictable clock in, clock out kind of job. This is, entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. So that's where we have to change our mindset and realizing that it's a lifestyle and finding out what that lifestyle is like. And I'm going to say this over and over again on my training, but once we can really accept and understand the type of lifestyle and the time frame and the success of an entrepreneur, then we will become more peaceful, excited and passionate about our business, rather than getting frustrated and tied up and trying to mix these two time zones and these two worlds that are very different. So basically, bureaucratic time is the safe, normal, structured, predictable, I say boring time. And that's just kind of like the norm, and what we're raised to really think to live. It's a lot of times it's that linear income, 9-to-5 jobs. They can tell you exactly how many hours that they work a week. They can tell you what their paycheck will be at the end of the week or the month, and how many vacation or sick days that they have left or that they have. Their income is fixed and it's capped. It's just a very safe, predictable kind of time zone. And that is totally okay. That's the norm. That's what we're used to. And as we learned from Stephanie's training, entrepreneurs are a little bit crazy, a little bit wild, and a little bit different. So we're going to have to think different than that. So as you can see, these mindsets and these schedules and these lifestyles are completely different. And they're worlds apart. So you can certainly do both, but you cannot mix the two worlds together and the two time zones together. You know, Dr. Tom Barrett talks about, like, okay, if you work in an office and you're working in a lot of different time zones, or you just went and traveled and you switched time zones, how confusing and disoriented your body can feel. It's kind of the same way when we try to mix these two, the entrepreneurial time and the bureaucratic time together. Our bodies will get disoriented and confused, and a lot of times it ends up in frustration, and not really understanding where we're going in our business. I've seen it happen like repeatedly, and I'm sure you guys have too, or experienced it for yourself even, is bringing in new business builders and, you know, coming in with this bureaucratic mindset, this clock in, clock out, this set time, your set paycheck, predictable, immediate result kind of mindset. And so what happens when you bring in that mindset, or you haven't switched your mindset to entrepreneurial mindset and time zone, what happens is you do what your upline tells you to do. You, you know, work your full calendar for the first month of your business, and you're all excited, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have my own business, and everything's excited, but you still have that bureaucratic mindset. And then at the end of the month, it comes, and your paycheck is maybe $115. I think my first paycheck was like $115, right? And it's like, wait, what? Like, oh my gosh, like, you can imagine why that would be a shock to somebody who is still living in that bureaucratic mindset and they don't understand the entrepreneurial success timeline and mindset. I'm going to tie that up at the end, but you can see how that would be quite a shock to somebody. And even to me, you know, working, when I first started, it was something that quickly I was realizing is very different. So what is living in entrepreneurial time then? What does that look like? Versus the latter. So our time zone, again, is all about future. It's all about living for what's coming and working for what's coming. And living in entrepreneurial time can sometimes feel like an island a little bit, because again, we're different, and it can feel a little bit lonely. Dr. Tom Barrett talks about that. Especially when you're surrounded, you know, most of the time by the majority of the people who don't live there with you. But he says, don't let this be discouraging to you. Don't let you feeling a little bit on an island or alone water down your business, basically. Instead, be proud that you have such impeccable vision, and that you have you're so certain about where your future is going, and that you're ahead on that. So be proud of that instead of being dragged down. If you're ever feeling lonely in this entrepreneurial time zone, when you're around people that don't have that same mindset. Dr. Tom Barrett, this is a really cool thing. He, and again, you're going to have to read the book to really get the details, but he talks about how entrepreneurial vision or eyesight is 20,000. And it's just so neat to see, you know, again, how we have this crazy eyesight and this vision. And that's where sometimes loving new business builders or loving clients and meeting them kind of where they're at, but helping them broaden their vision a little bit, and just understanding where they are in their time zone. So my third point is entrepreneurial success. If our time zone is different, so will our success be different too. And it's a good thing that it's different. But you have to understand how it works again. And this is at the end of this, I really, really want to encourage you to see how it works. So that way you can be encouraged to say, okay, I'm going to stick it out, and I know where it's going. I know where it's going. Because in the beginning, we talk about that feeling it's not worth it stage, until we get to the I'm not worth it stage. So entrepreneurial success, it's a perfect marriage between the time zone we live in. Again, it's a lifestyle. It's not something that you kind of clock into and clock out. It's a lifestyle. And so what I want to do is, as you know, in entrepreneurial time, and maybe you don't know, but you will now, we see our results in our business in 30, 60, 90 days. We're building relationships. We're helping change lives. People are trying products. We're really just helping people broaden their visions and also catch the vision that we have. And sometimes it takes a little bit. So we see our results in this business in network marketing 30, 60, 90 days out. And so what I want to do is kind of break that down, because that law applies to much more than just our results. That law applies to almost every area in our business. And so I'm going to break it down and start with just our phone calls and how that law applies to our phone calls too. and build it back up. So if you break it down, let's say one of my favorite things is the reason that I have been able to see this for myself is because in my personal business, I have gone through these different stages where huge momentum, massive momentum, and then, got pregnant or had a little bit of a break in my business, and I had to get my momentum rolling again. And then I did it shortly after again. So I had to get my momentum back up and rolling pretty quickly back to back. And so I've really I think this is where it hit me, is seeing like, oh my gosh, how this works. And it excites me and I love it. So we're going to break down that 30, 60, 90 day result. Let's say that you make 5 phone calls a day for 8 days in a row. You're using our wording and our skills, and you're practicing, right? Using what we know and how to make phone calls. So if you were to make 5 phone calls 8 days in a row, that's 40 asks for presentations. Out of those 40, you will book your 10 presentations. It's numbers. And what happens is, it's not that, sorry, I lost my place. The numbers, I call it like the numbers law almost. The numbers law shows up in the days it takes to make calls before you book. So you may not get anything on your books the first few days that you make phone calls. And this is, again, it falls in that 30, 60, 90 day result. So even with our phone calls, it takes time for people to get back to you. Sometimes Arbonne is not their priority like it is yours, but this is why you're calling them, is to share it with them and help change their life. So you see it in that. But I can tell you that the 5th or 8th day of making the phone calls, all of a sudden you're going to get your responses. People are going to be calling you back, and you're going to be penciling in and finally finalizing those dates. And your calendar is going to be filled before you know it on that 5th to 8th day. So don't be discouraged right when you're making those phone calls. It still happens. You'll book a few, but I just want to let you know that if it happens that way, obviously number one thing is that you can reach out to and make sure that your wording and the skills that you're using are really what you should be doing, and practicing and role playing. That's a really great thing to do. But when you are, I think people with the best skills and wording still kind of see these results happen. This was something that I posted a video about before, that I made these 6 phone calls every day for, I think it was like 6 days in a row. And I still, I never heard back from the first group of 6 people that I called. But I got my 8 parties by the end of those 6 days. And so again, it's just one of those things where it's a different mindset. And I think sometimes we really get discouraged, especially if you're new in this too, and it's something that you haven't experienced before. Stick it out, and you'll see in that 5th and 8th day, your calendar is going to start filling up and people are going to start getting back to you. So now that you have your events and your calendar filled and you're ready to go, we know that if you share Arbonne with 40 people a month, right? This is a statistic that Emily Martin actually shared with us once. 40 people a month, half will be interested, which is 20, and half will be involved in some way or purchase from you or become a preferred client, which is 10, and half will sign up as consultants, which is 5, and half will actually treat it like a business, which is about 2 or 2.5 out of those 40 people a month that you've shared it with. And so I think, again, keeping that in mind, and that's just numbers. That's just how it works. The great thing about Arbonne is we only need those 4, key people that want to work at like a business like you do to really go to the top. It's not like we need 100 people, our success plan. But that's where that numbers thing plays again. And it just sifts through. And Dr. Tom Barrett talks about in this, it almost is like an upside down triangle. And he talks about the 3 stages where when you're sharing your opportunity with people, there are people that dare to dream. And then there are people that are willing to act on it or willing to pursue it. And there are people, the smallest at the point are the people that are actually willing to see it through and actually working to see it through. And so we're just sifting through and finding those 2 people out of those 40 that want to see it through and see their dreams through. So at the least, I just want you guys to know that it's part of the nature of this business. It's just the nature of this business. We're sifting through people. So don't take that personally. Don't discourage you in the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not good at this. I'm not successful. I'm not, it's just part of the numbers and the nature. I love when Marie shares this a lot, that not everybody is a chocolate person, or not everybody likes color blue. Like if you sit at a table and you order your chocolate cake and you try and you're like, wow, this is delicious. And you pass it to your friend and they're like, oh, I'm not really a chocolate person, but here, you go try it, to the next person. And they're passing it around the table. It's just kind of like that. Not everybody's going to be ready to hear Arbonne or ready to see their dream through. But you're sharing it with those 40 people, and it's just the nature of this business. So that's that half and half statistic, or that number that I want to show you, or that I want to share with you. And I hope that if you keep that in your mind, you're going to become more resilient. And you're going to, which I love the topic of resilience. You could do a training just on that. But resilience is the time it takes to bounce back from something. And this business is a roller coaster ride. Again, it's different. So your emotions can be high, they can be low, and all this kind of stuff. So resilience is important. And when you can understand how this business works and you can accept it, then you become more resilient, and the no's and the setbacks and the disappointments don't seem so huge, and they don't seem so awful, because you know that part of those 40 people, you're going to find your two. So you're going to just almost expect like that. It's just, again, it's part of the business, and we're just searching and sifting for those people that are really willing and desiring to change their life. So know that it's part of it. What I want to show you how now we're going to go back to that 30, 60, 90 days. So we've talked about how the phone calls work. You're going to do it in the 8 days in a row, and you might not hear anything the first 2 to 3 days, but the 5th and 8th day, you're going to start getting flooding with your responses. And then you're going to share it with those people, and you see how the people that are interested and follow through, how it breaks down half and half and half. So now when you look at the 30, 60, 90 day results, and this is really, really cool. So if you share Arbonne with 40 people a month consistently, this is something that kept me going. Is not, I think for a while I had a little bit of doubt in myself, and I thought like, okay, well, I'm just going to try this and I hope that it works. But the thing is, if you share Arbonne with 40 people a month and you work our just simple recipe for success, it's truth. It's truth about Arbonne. You will promote. There is no if or hope, like you will. And so I think for me, when I that helped with that resilience, is being like, wait, it's truth. It's not maybe. If you share it with 40 people, you will promote. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I'm going to go share it with 40 people, because then I will promote and I will get our family where we need to be. So, and I'm going to share it with people. But anyway, let's just say you share this with 40 people a month, and you book your calendar full and you see it through. Let's say for August, let's say you have 8 group presentations for August. You see them through and you do those 8 group presentations, okay? I'm going to read this so I don't confuse you guys. So I'm sorry I'm not looking right at you right now. But I wrote this down and I thought it was really cool. So if you book a full August, you see it through, you will start to see the smaller 30-day benefits and growth at the end of September. If you stay consistent for September as well, and then you build on those smaller results from October, or in October, you will see greater results and growth in the 60-day time frame. If you keep the consistency going through October, the 3rd month, October, you will build on those great results and see life-changing big results in the 90 days for your start of November. So you see that you'll see your full fruit and your full work from starting in August, not until the beginning of November. That's that 90 day. And that's those big results that we hope for. But you have to stay consistent from August, September, October. It's just, again, the nature of the business, the 30, 60, 90 day, and how it works. I think, again, sometimes we keep that bureaucratic mindset and we're like, oh my gosh, I clocked in for this, these 30 days and I didn't get what I thought I was getting. But what you don't realize is that you're building on momentum, on momentum, on momentum, and you're building on success, and you have to keep pushing through. And if you do that consistently, you'll see the fruit from September and November. And then you keep going, and it's just going to keep growing bigger and bigger, and like quadrupling and doubling. It's just going to get huge. So I thought that mindset, I hope it was said clearly enough for you to kind of understand it. If not, again, still read that book, Dare to Dream, Work to Win. And if you've already read it, read it again. this leads me to my close. And so so why go through this, right? Like, why push yourself to do something different? What makes entrepreneurial success so much better than kind of the norm American dream, I guess? Again, just listen to Stephanie's training from last week and you'll see why you should push through it and be in this business. But average says to just exist and survive this thing called life. Normally work 40 hours for a week for 40 years and retire and get paid 40% of that. And living by the chance that if you play the cards right and if you work hard, that maybe, just maybe, we'll get the vacation home we want, or if we just work hard enough and play the cards, we'll get our dream maybe. And people kind of just leave it up there in the cloud and just hope that they get there. Arbonne success says live life, not just exist. You will achieve your dreams. The gift of Arbonne that allows you to grow and thrive and be the best version of yourself. This is my favorite thing. You get to pass this gift on of residual income. While other CEO of any other company gets to say, hey, come on up here with me. Like, come be a CEO with me. Like, share all the time. Oh, you too. Come on up and be a CEO with me. Like, you don't get to do that. There is no other opportunity in the entire world that you get to do that. And that is what is so beautiful about this. And that's what sets apart Arbonne success from, the norm success. And that's why you want to push through these results and it's not worth it stage. You have to push through that and stay consistent. And then you will get these kind of results. Let me see here. Okay. So like I said, you'll never be offered an opportunity like this anywhere else. The difference between residual and linear income. Residual income is you're going to pass this on forever and ever and ever. You get to pass it on to your family. And there's no ceiling cap. It's not capped off. So that's the difference between the successes, and that's why you want to push through. So if you're still trying to mix the two worlds and working this business with a bureaucratic mindset, letting yourself get discouraged and thinking that this, a lot of times when you think that way and you're trying to live an entrepreneurial, you're trying to do an entrepreneurial business, but you still have that mindset, you start to think, oh, this doesn't work. Or, you'll do that first few months or whatever, and you're like, oh, this doesn't work, or it's just not working for me. And then you quit because you're discouraged because you don't understand how just the numbers and the math works. I just love that the saying that it's the nature of the business, and just know that, and keep these numbers and these statistics and this math in your head and the nature of this business in your head, and don't forget it, because again, it's going to help you have more peace and passion and excitement in your business, because you're not going to worry about the maybe the no's or the things like that might happen, because it's just part of it. And so I wanted to end with, who's going to the top with me? Yes, it's exciting. Let's open your mindset to the entrepreneurial lifestyle time zone, living in that time zone, accept it, and just live in that, and have peace in it, and know that it's just part of the process and it's just the nature of the business. I hope that was encouraging for you guys.
Okay, so that was amazing. And I know for sure that is going to be really eye-opening, and that there's new people especially that are going to have heard that for the first time, and you're probably going to have saved their business, because now they're going to start to understand and learn and grow in that. Because I know from reading the book that you're talking about 10 years ago, that was what helped me stick it out, was understanding I'd have to pull back when I was feeling that discouragement, like you're saying, and like remember these things. So I love that you re-brought that book to our attention and just kind of summed those important key things up for us. And like I said, when I even still to this day, just especially because I have lived it out enough, like you said, I've gone through the ebb and flow of okay, I have to recreate activity and momentum, and I know that it takes time. And so it really is true. And one of the things that would keep me going, even still, for an example, I didn't start a new business builder last month. But the past doesn't predict your future. So I would always know okay, I'm still just a team of one, or when I was stuck at district manager or then an area manager and I had a couple people and it wasn't growing as quickly as I felt like I wanted it to. But I was doing my part and doing the best I could. I was always you know what? even though I didn't find an ace, somebody who's going to take it and run to the top and really build this as a business, though I didn't find one last month, I could find 2 or 3 this month and start them, and I could pass a level. I could shoot right to the top. You can, your business is always one phone call, one ask, one person, one yes away from exploding. And that is true. It's absolutely true. And that still encourages me to this day that, okay, maybe last month wasn't what I wanted. Okay, but this month, that doesn't mean that this month is going to be the same, or you don't have to progress at a certain rate. You can, because of how this works, you can shoot to the top, or you can shoot to a level, or you can go from a team of 1 to a team of 10 in the matter of a month. Like, it can, especially as you said, the key is consistency, to keep going so that it can build, and then all of a sudden it will explode, and that's what keeps that momentum going. And so just remember that what's happened in the past in your business, you've learned from, like you said, Elaine, but that doesn't predict what is going to happen this coming month or the next month. It's always just one right around the corner, one person away. And I love the math of that 40 asks. And so when we're talking about how we really grow a successful business is through sharing this and bringing others to be the CEO with us, like you said, bringing others to build the business too. So that's why it's so important when you're sharing Arbonne with those 40 people. First of all, it's really important to ask all of them to take a look at this business. All of them, in one way or another. Ask them if they've thought of doing something like this. Ask them if they'd be interested in hearing more. If you've heard them say something that you think Arbonne could help and be a fit, say, hey, I know you mentioned this. I don't know if it'd be a fit for you or not, but I would love for you to take a look. Because out of those 40 people you ask, just like she said, about 20 are going to say yes to taking a look. Out of those 20, about 10 are going to actually take a look. Out of those 10, about 5 are going to say yes to getting started. And out of those 5, like she said, about 1 to 2 are going to actually really build as a business and stick it out. So using that, the last tip I wanted to piggyback on that was you got to track it. That's why I love our 40 faces sheet, or however you want to do it. If you want to keep a list or whatever, because sometimes we are sharing Arbonne, we're thinking Arbonne, we're doing all of this, and we think okay, I haven't built a team yet, or I haven't added anybody. And it's like, well, first of all, how many people are you asking, and how many people are you actually sharing it with? Because I know for me, speaking from personal experience in the past, it'd be like when I would actually sit down and look, I'd be like, oh, so I asked 3 people this month to look at the business. So it's like, yes, I was asking some people, but it just wasn't enough. Like Elaine said, it's not magic, it's math. You just need to ask more. So that keeps us in a reality check and keeps us resilient, like she said, because it's like, oh, okay, I'm not doing anything wrong. I just need to do more of that. So track it, stay consistent, and ask everyone, because you're going to need to in order to narrow down and find those who it's a fit for. So that was just absolutely amazing. Like I said, Elaine, I know that so many people are going to benefit from this. And I would love to hear if anybody else has anything you want to add or question.
Of course I do.
I know. Take it away.
Hi. Elaine, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I was writing and trying to take pictures at the same time. It was crazy. But the quote that really stuck out to me that you said, it's not an if or a maybe. It's a you will promote 40 to 60 people. So all the time when we start new people, they're like, yeah, but does this work? And what do I do? And it's all right there, right? And that's where being coachable comes in. It's like, okay, so no matter what happens in my business, like Marie said, no matter what happened last month, last year, whatever, this is how I control it. And when you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you're not tempted by thinking, oh, this isn't working. And that legacy of, okay, so to protect my family, not only financially, but culturally, and surround them by these amazing people, 40 to 60 people every month, right? That's like what Carly says, 40 people. That's doable. And when you give somebody, that is so much hope to me, because then I feel like, okay, I'm really doing everything I can. Instead of like Marie said, when I look at my calendar, I'm like, yeah, I did 2 parties and close night is depressing. Of course, right? We all have been there. So I just love that. I always love listening to you because the wisdom that pours out of your mouth, just blows my mind that you're so young and sweet and wonderful. But thank you so much. I haven't read that book in 3 years, so I'm going to read it again. And thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry, one last thing. You need to change your introduction. You're not an RVP. I'm direct you. You're an ERVP. So you need to just make that little tweak.
Hey,
Sorry.
No,
That's
you
okay.
go.
I was going to add one thing and piggyback off of what both of you said, because it's really funny. This actually happened recently. And I hope that you all could bear with me a little bit. I've had, a couple sleepless nights, so I feel a little bit slow, but it's really crazy when you can learn to live in that entrepreneurial mindset and you don't get so shifted and like completely thrown back with, cancellations and things like that, because you just know it's the nature of the business. I remember literally telling me I was driving and Blake was in the back of the car, and I was like, okay, well, I've shared the business with about 10 people in the past 2 weeks. And I was like, and some of them are like in the pipeline, still answering questions, and most of them were all no. So I was like, that means that there's a yes coming real soon, right around the corner, because I've done 10. And so I'm like, and you guys, no joke, like, because I decided to keep going, like, just keep asking. And I knew that it was coming because that's entrepreneurial time. No joke. That was like the next week I signed up my next consultant. And it was so funny. I was like, it's so true. It's just numbers and math. That's not the magic. So next time you're feeling that way, make sure, like Marie said, you're charting down and you know how many people you're actually going through, and then know the nature of the business. So you're like, oh, it's coming because I've shared it with this many people, and you don't even like, okay, well, they're coming. I know it's coming. But I just wanted to share that little tidbit because I thought it was really cool that happened.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think like that book obviously says a lot, but you kind of hit the hammer on the head. Like, so often people come into this business and we have to retrain them. And especially like there's nothing wrong with working in a regular, job, but then trying to train yourself to think in a different mindset, because I even still sometimes like think that way. Like I'm like, well, I could do an Arbonne party, or if I just did this, I could make this much more, like an exact amount, and knowing it. And so it's just like about retraining our brain to think bigger too than just a paycheck of like right now, like, oh, I just worked. I went to a party tonight and I made $150, like, but I was there for 3 hours, but it's not about that one party. It's about what that one party is going to grow into the future of your business, or what that, you go to a coffee date that might take an hour and a half and nothing ever comes of that. And so you're like, I got paid $0 for that time. And so shifting our mindset from thinking on like an hourly wage to the long-term vision. And I'm such a numbers person, and you mentioned the numbers the last time. I think it might have been it was on a call recently or in a Voxer. You started talking about like, you get in front of 40 people, and I was like, I need to write this down, and I never did. And so I'm really glad that you repeated it, because I like thrive off of numbers. And it's true, like so often we think, like Marie said, like even I track everything, but sometimes I'll be like, oh, I had so many parties this month, like I got in front of so many people, and then I go back and look at my numbers and I'm like, I got in front of 18 people this month. Like, what would have happened if I had gotten in front of 36 or 40 or 50? Like, imagine the growth that you would have in your numbers. So that's really important. And I apologize for getting on late. It was my fault. I was just thinking 8:30. I know it's 7:30, and I was thinking 8:30, and then I realized that I was wrong. So I apologize, and I will re-listen to the beginning of your call.
Emily, you're fine. I texted you 8:30, so because you're in a different time zone, so I should have specified too. But Elaine, the same thing happened to me I remember a specific example of phone calls where I was making phone calls to book for a party, and I had made about 8 calls and got a bunch of voicemails, got like 2 or 3 people, and they said no. And I remember being like, okay, it's like 8:30. It's getting kind of late to call people anyway. Like I was feeling kind of discouraged. I made 8 calls. Like that's good, right? And I was like, you know what? No, like I know. And it's because I had learned this principle. And I was like, I know that my yes, because I've gotten so many voicemails and so many no's, that my yes is right around the corner. I got to just do a couple more. So I did another one. I think I got a voicemail. Then I did another one, and I got a person, and I got a party. And it was like one of those real life moments, like you said, where I was like, okay, it's just like, I know how this works. So I had the same example. So, well, thank you so much. Again, like I said, I know that this is going to be so helpful. I can't wait to post this for people and make sure they watch this and we share it with our team, because I know that it is going to really, really help people. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being those that were on live. Phyllis, I saw you on. It was good to see you join in. And for those of you that are watching the recording, we'll be back here next week. Have a good night. See you on our nation call.